get our gears going.
Yeah.
My brain to voice box is like slowly getting back into. Okay, cool. We're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on the same
all
page.
tied in there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah, I would say that's probably a good spot where you are with the microphone and everything.
Cool.
Maybe lower it a touch. It's like it's not quite blocking. I just want to make sure it's not blocking your face. Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. I think that'd be all right.
Awesome.
So, let's do it.
Yeah.
Naturally, I like to start things at the beginning. So, why don't you tell me where you were born and what life was like for you growing up?
Okay. Born in Scarborough, but really grew up. I was born in Scarborough. That's where my grandparents are from. That's where my parents are from. But we moved early on to Pickering, Ontario. So that was kind of like my first home base. I was there till I was about 9. And then we moved up to Barrie, Ontario. I lived there until I was about 12, 13. Moved to King City. Mm-hmm. Moved around a lot growing up. Not even because like it was like my dad's work or something like that. Because my dad's office always stayed like pretty central, like Toronto, GTA area. I think my parents, there was like, but in Durham, it was getting a little bit rough. And so then we went up north. And then it was too cold for my mom. So we went a little bit further south. Mm-hmm. And then in high school, I wasn't like a bad kid or anything, but there was a point in time in which it was the best decision for me to go to a boarding school, but not like a military one or something that was like heavy discipline. It was basically summer camp.
Right.
Cool. And it was on the Kawarthas, in the Kawarthas there in Lakefield, Ontario.
That's a beautiful area.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Going to boarding school.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I could see the water from my dorm. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But that was a wild experience being like 16 and like kind of basically being on my own, not having any parents other than like there was like a house family that like took care of like all the boys in the boarding house.
Yeah.
So that was cool for a bit. And then moved back home and moved to California for a little bit. Lived in California. Moved to Montreal.
All over, eh?
I've
Holy
lived
smokes.
in the UK for a little bit. Yeah, I was a
Really?
touring musician. So as I got into my when I was like 13, being a musician was like the thing. Before that, being a chef was like what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. It's like I want to cook. I was taking like cooking lessons at the local Loblaws for a long time.
Yeah.
My birthday parties, I was like, cooking class, Loblaws. Cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Easy Bake Oven was on my Christmas list early on, and even though it was like, that's not for you, I'm like, no, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, my mom's frustrated. We're trying to make these like homemade Pop-Tarts and stuff. Eventually she caves and we just make them in a regular oven because the light bulb's going to take like 6 million years to do.
Sure.
So moved around a lot. Which kind of just always kept things kind of like fresh, I guess, like interesting for me. I was always very curious, but having to like restart like the whole like foundational like friend thing was like always super crazy.
Yeah, moving around that much, like, it's got to be tough, right?
Yeah, you're just like, okay, cool. I'm getting to meet these kids for a couple years, and then that's that.
Yeah,
on to the next place. Mm-hmm. So I kind of it did help me in a way where I just kind of always I didn't like keep to myself. I always had quite a bit of friends. I was always like fairly sociable. But when it came to kind of just liking what I like, I always just stuck to my guns. If it didn't necessarily align with everybody at school or a certain group of people, I was like, well, I don't care. I like skateboarding, or I like pop punk or emo bands or whatever.
Right.
Even if that wasn't what the demographic in that specific spot was necessarily into at that time.
Right. You were doing your thing. That was it, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So music, what instrument did you play?
Multi-instrumental. I started playing piano and then quickly moved on to guitar and bass, and then started singing. So a little bit of everything there. I can hold a beat on the drums, but I'm absolutely not a drummer. So that's definitely where the musical talent ends. And played some instruments in high school, like band as well. I played like trombone and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Lots going on. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so after high school, did you do a post-secondary at all, or?
Post-secondary was the first attempt was in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I moved to California and I go to a university there. that it was a very odd situation. I was trying to go to the Hollywood recording school because at that point in time, I was like, I wanted to do music. I was like recording bands. I kind of had like a little makeshift record label in high school, which sounds crazy, but I was hosting shows. I was recording bands. I was making a little bit of like money basically to just buy more microphones and instruments and gear. And eventually I told my parents, I'm like, I don't want to go to business school. I don't want to go to science school or whatever. I want to learn how to record better. So there was a couple of programs locally, like Ryerson has like a really awesome program, but it was more geared towards like film and television. Ultimately, I just decided to go check out this school abroad. And while I was there, we toured a few different other schools. One of them, my girlfriend at the time happened to be going to, or she had gotten into. She wasn't there yet. But I was like, oh, I'll do a nice little thing. I'll go and I'll go get her like some piece of merch or something like that from like the school store. And while we were on campus, my parents were just like, oh yeah, we really want him to go here. We don't want him living in Hollywood at like 17 years old. This is more appropriate. So long story short is I apply, I get in. Girlfriend at the time's not very happy about that. Which was weird. I was like, so now I'm going to the same school as you. I know we probably thought we were going to break up or something like that, but yeah, so super awkward, like teenage angsty stuff.
Oh, geez.
yeah. So that was interesting, but it was all fine. I went, I did well. I ended up working for the school, but ultimately I drop out.
Oh, okay.
I was like, the pace of this educational program is just like not enough for me.
Right.
American tuition is wild compared to Canadian tuition.
Sure.
Plus, I'm an international student. At least where I was going, it was pretty substantial. And I just wasn't comfortable with my parents like helping me out and making this investment. I was like, I'd rather let's change tracks and I'll go to business school since clearly maybe music recording school they're not going to be able to teach me as much as I can learn on my own. So I might as well learn more about business. And then I moved to Montreal, went to Concordia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. And did a business program there.
Did a business program there for a year, and I dropped out again.
Okay. All right.
I got to Montreal. I joined a band. We were good. There was some buzz. We were supposed to be a part of like a TV show on Much Music at the time.
Really?
Yeah, and on Music Plus, which is like the Quebec version of Much Music. Ultimately, band drama, like same thing, different band.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to a recording school after I dropped out of there called Trebas Institute. I finally graduate.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I graduate top of the class though, which was super cool.
Nice.
And I ended up winning like a honorary Juno award.
Really?
I know, yeah, two-time dropout, but I got that at the end.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Good things can still come out of failures. So
yeah.
So that was a wild experience, and I was able to go like, see mom and dad, see what I could have done if I just did what I wanted to.
Yeah, there you go. It's not a failure. Also, you're just learning what wasn't working, right?
I'm learning. I'm like, this isn't the vibe. This isn't it. And instead of just like, there's a certain point where if you power through the suck of something, but you want it enough that it's going to be worth it at the end, versus like, oh, this is not for me. This
only sucks.
Yeah, this only sucks, and what I'm going to have at the end is not going to be worth the pain through this. So,
right. Yeah. No, fair enough. So you end up in business today, following that passion of cooking. How did we end up coming full circle there and kind of drawing the line?
Sadboy Pizza is like kind of like a mishmash of like all previous hobbies that I've had like through life, just kind of thrown into one. There's very clear music influence within it. Sadboy is because when I was in as a touring musician after I had graduated from school, I then worked at various music businesses in the GTA, a couple of different record labels, working with bands like Simple Plan and Finger 11. That was like, cool. We're doing stuff.
Nice.
At the same time, I was a touring musician, so I'd come and go and kind of do my thing there. I end up doing a big tour in Europe. I end up flying to England. I live there. It's kind of like new home base for like 4 or 5 months, and we tour dozens of countries. Like I went from England to Russia and back on the road.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, in a
incredible.
van, and it's not glorious, not a bus, a van, a 15-passenger Volkswagen. Basically, it's a work truck that was like we converted into. We drilled in some like abandoned bus seats in the back, and toured in that thing for
How many
months.
guys you got jammed in that thing?
5.
5 guys plus equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez.
And
Holy
merch
smokes.
and this and that.
Right.
So we're all smushed in there. I think there might have been 4 of us for the most part, but then sometimes there was 5. So we did that for quite a while. And then at one point on that tour, I just like, something just like cracked. It clicked inside of me. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, I want to go home. I want consistent money. I don't want to sleep on the floor. I want to get into one of my favorite parts was marketing. The business side of being in a band was fun to me, running the record label and stuff. So I switched over, came home, and basically started working as a graphic design like tech guy that knew how to do like website stuff at the same time. And then I did that for the better part of like 10 years from that point. And then in 2019, 2018, I started getting kind of, once I bought my home with my partner, now we're here in Georgetown. Once we got into our own house, I just started having these like daydream ideas of like, oh, when I retire, I can do pizza. Pizza just kept coming up for me. I was like, I can't escape it beyond just eating it, because I absolutely have always loved eating pizza.
Sure.
So
Don't we all?
yeah, always loved eating pizza. So anywhere I could get it, didn't matter good or bad, cheap, expensive. I was like, I wanted to try it all, every type of variety, every style. Didn't matter. When I was on tour, I was exposed. I think part of it was, on tour, going across Europe, seeing all these like like offshoots of pizza, especially because pizza in Europe, once you're getting into Italian style pizza and you're getting into Neapolitan style pizza, it's small pizzas cooked at extremely high temperatures, very different than what like North American or New York style pizza is like. And Europe, every country and every sub sort of like city and section of every country had their own take on what pizza was kind of like. It was amazing. So I came home being like, I ate what a wild amount of stuff, and I couldn't stop thinking about how much other pizza is out there. So tons of pizza, daydreaming about it, and then gosh, how many years ago? I guess like 8 years ago. I was like, I want to eventually do this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to just start getting curious about it. I remember trying to convince my dad and my brother. I'm like, hey, there's a pizza shop for sale. Like, we should just buy it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a crazy thing to do?
Yeah.
That kind of like entrepreneurialness and that always kind of like staying busy. I couldn't just play music. I had to like also run the label associated to the band that I was like involved in or something. So same thing. I'm like, I'm not busy. For some reason, I'm like, I'm not busy enough. Let's do something that we can get excited about. And I thought pizza would be it.
Yeah.
And then 2019 came around and nothing had happened. Nothing had changed. And I was like, okay, no, this is the year I'm going to make pizza. 2020 rolls around, still nothing. And I'm like, I've made notes now on my New Year's resolutions to like make pizza at home, and it wasn't happening. And I was like, okay. And I think everybody had this idea in 2020. The nice numbers, gonna set my goals, I'm gonna stick to it, I'm gonna finally do the things that I've like waited for. It's like, it's gotta have some luckiness to it because it's got the double digit count there. And so I started making pizza in January. And then the world turned off. Everything went wild. And then there was no excuse to just continue to work on the craft and fall in love with making pizza just for myself.
Sure.
And just started like taking pictures of it and posting it on Instagram and like using Georgetown hashtags to the point where it was starting to like build a buzz. I guess people were seeing it. You can't follow hashtags anymore on Instagram, but before you could.
Yeah.
And so it was starting to feed like local content to people, and people were like, "Can I buy this?" And I'm like, "No." And then some people were getting mad. Some people were attacking me already. They're just like, "Well, don't post it if you're not going to sell it." And I'm like, "Whoa. I'm just
you can't post a pizza
yeah,
you made.
exactly. Okay,
No.
police me.
Yeah.
On that. All right. So that's kind of like how that kind of started, and it just continued to grow and grow.
Well, hey, the people demanded it, so you just kept going. Then.
Yeah, a few people I had to I might have to block a few people here because this is just pizza. I don't.
Okay, and then so fast forward to today. I mean, we got the shop is there.
Yeah.
So what was that whole process like as far as
opening a business, four walls? That's like your complete liability. I think it's like a fever dream when I think back to like building out the shop and actually going from doing pop-ups, because I started it very slow, right? It was like make pizza at home, and then I had seen and heard of like this ghost kitchen concept that was becoming more popular during COVID because restaurants were closed for dine-in. So they were starting to rent out their kitchens to like other chefs who may not have access to a commercial kitchen but have a product or something they want to start offering to people.
Right.
So I cooked in like a half dozen kitchens in town, and I made test pizzas in their ovens. I contacted everybody from the burger places to the little bakeries, and everybody in between. I was like, oh, you have a kitchen? Like, how much fridge space do you have? Can you squeeze me in? And I eventually ended up at Uncorked on Main, which was cool.
Okay. Nice.
They weren't open on Sundays. I don't know if they're open on Sundays now, but at the time, they were not open on Sundays even before COVID, and there was no plan to open on Sundays after. So there was kind of like a mutual agreement of, hey, we can just kind of like do this until you don't want to do it anymore. Like for my side, they had enough storage space for me. No pizza oven or anything like that. I had to like make it work in like a convection blodget, like basically a bakery or a roasting oven.
Right.
I learned how to make pizza on my home oven though, so I had some like hacks and tricks to like make it work. No pizza stones, because then they'd have to cool, and then the staff the next day would have to take out these like heavy things, and then we did that for like a year and a half. We won Best Pizza Georgetown that year doing a pop-up, which is like
incredible.
I made 300 pizzas that year. Domino's makes like 300 in a day.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So very, very honored, very humbled. I was like, this is cool. The demand was there. People kept coming out. We're selling out like week after week. The buzz was definitely growing. And I was still working like full time at that time. I was like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday to go in and hand make like 20 kilo batches of dough for service on Sunday. And then I would get in on a Sunday morning at like 10 a.m. and prep until 3. And then I'd be basically making pizzas in succession until 7, 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Definitely like to keep busy. That's insane.
Yeah.
So eventually you get your shop, and for those who have never been in, like it's different than any pizza shop I've ever walked into. Like it's super cool on the inside.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, kind of what you got going on the inside there?
Yeah, the inside of the shop, it's like 80s, 90s, early 2000s fever dream, as I usually like to call it, because you've got, you come in, we have the usual pizza suspects, like there's a nice little counter with a slice window. You can see us making pizzas. That was a key variable for me. Was I loved that vibe of going to a pizza shop and like seeing people make it right in front of you. We've got this this customer, this little boy. He must be like 8, and he comes in one day and he's like, "This is like hibachi," and I'm like, "Yes, you get it." I'm like, "Thank you." I'm like, nobody ever brings that up, but this is exactly the part of the core essence. Is it's a live cooking environment, and all the prep happens in that same room. But then so it's one thing to be cool. They're cooking in an open kitchen environment. I see everything, hear everything. But then we've got movie posters from the 90s and 80s. We've got pinball machines. We've got probably just shy of 1,000 VHS tapes, and there's retro TVs all over the place as well. So you're kind of brought back to a little bit of what an old school pizza shop would have, with those like old, you go into an old slice shop, and they might have like a Pac-Man game that's like set up there. We've got a little Pac-Man cocktail table as well, pinball, and then there was something missing at the end, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, I always knew pizza and pinball was going to be it. And we've got like a little local hot sauce counter, and there's like kind of retro snacks that you can't like find everywhere that kind of offer you like a nostalgic kind of like feeling. Combos or like rare flavored gushers or like funky Oreos that you're an adult, but like you get to be a kid again. You're just like, yeah, sweet. I'll grab a couple candies at the same time.
Yeah.
But the other feeling that I miss growing up is that going to like Jumbo Video, Blockbuster, Hollywood Video vibe, where you're there, you're curious, you're exploring, you're sort of like being able to browse and you're watching something at the same time. I've been collecting, trading, buying VHS tapes since they stopped making them. And my fiance was like, hey, maybe you should start getting rid of some of them. Maybe you don't need to keep all of everything that you have, because I have a storage unit with like 10,000 tapes in it. It's
holy smokes.
It's out of control. Yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that will help fill the last bit of shelf space that I have at the shop, and we'll get a little nook with VCRs, and we'll try to stimulate some of that community, because I've been a part of a collector community for a while, and there's not a lot of spaces for that, let alone a space that can handle, pay its own rent. You're not going to see a movie store, video rental store anymore, or you do, they're few and far between.
Right.
One of my favorite ones in Perry Sound that I used to go to when going to the cottage all the time, like shut down a few years ago. And I was like, okay, they're gone. So I need that there. It's one of my little security blanket comforts there. So
right.
slinging pies, and it's chaos, and it's Friday. We're making like a couple hundred pizzas, and I get to look over and go, oh no, everything's fine. Everything's chill.
Got my tapes. We're good.
Yeah, I got the tapes.
Yeah.
Cool. Back to the Future's playing. Good.
All right. We're laughing. It's a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think like anyone from the 90s misses that kind of like going to the video store like Friday night after school kind of thing. Like,
and you probably picking up a pizza at the same time. Like
100%.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand, right? Like
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing. It's such a cool little shop you got set up there.
Thank you.
Yeah. It looks awesome. So how big is the operation? Like, what's your staffing like?
We just did our first like big old staff meeting yesterday, actually.
Okay.
We've been open 16 months. We were supposed to have one kind of like 1 year in, but holiday schedules were just wild. So we're doing it now. Including myself, there's 13 of us.
Okay. Right.
So 5 full-timers, that includes me. And then the rest are part-timers that help fill in the gaps between services and our like up and down prep periods or dinner services.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Good size crew.
Pretty sizable. More than some people are like, you got a lot of people in here. I'm like, but we make everything from scratch. Nothing gets brought in.
Right.
We have, I don't know, now 6 different dips, which is a lot to make, a lot to carry, period. Usually you go in and you're like, you got your spicy one, your ranch, your garlic one, and maybe a marinara, and like 4 is enough.
Right.
I was like, oh, it'd be good if we had this too. Or we could have, what about hot honey? What about cheddar jalapeno? That's like a key. And so we just kept getting curious, and now we have, but all the dips are made from scratch too.
Right.
So, and you're making a few hundred dips a week. It's a lot of labor. So that's why it takes like a little army basically to run the full shop.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
All your doughs, and then the base sauces as well, not just your dips.
Yeah.
All from scratch. Like
No, all the sauces are from scratch. The cream sauces are from scratch. We're making our own tomato sauce. Our marinara is from scratch. We grate our own cheeses. We just don't slice the pepperoni, like that's pretty minimal. That are usually
one little bit of prep you've saved. That's the pepperoni is
but
sliced.
you can't even. If we were to even try to buy it at that volume, like whole, we'd have problems. So that's the majority of how pizza shops buy it, anyways.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel like we're skimping anywhere with sliced pepperoni.
So obviously that passion totally comes through with cooking and everything for you. Like I said, there's obviously a great integrity to what you're doing that you kind of want to maintain.
I think I've always lived by the if you're not gonna give it 110%, just like don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's prevalent with how I was at school, how I was with any sort of like even side job or gig that I've had like on and off in the past. And when it came to the shop as well, I'm just like, I'm all in. I want to do this. I want to learn every little piece of every nook and cranny. Like, our dough recipe is like all of our recipes are down to like fractions of a percent.
Right.
Because 1% and 2% can be a massive difference in a recipe, especially at scale. So,
Right.
But I love that. It's like I get to nerd out on it a little bit. It's like cool. We're getting into the fine intricacies. It's like science at the same time as it is art. I've always loved that. Anything that was like an art that could also be a science was always something to me that I found really fascinating.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I said, that passion really comes through. It's my wife and I love the pie, like an awesome pie.
Oh,
like it's
thanks.
best in town. I've told you before, but
Appreciate it.
not just blowing smoke. So life outside of the shop, if you have one at all, what's that like?
Yeah. Resting with my fiance and my wiener dog.
Yeah.
That's nice. Mostly just trying to lay low. We do love exploring. We like our little road trips, to neighboring suburbs. We're not really like super downtown or like city folk. We prefer to sprawl out to some of the smaller towns. That's what brought us to Georgetown in the first place, even though it doesn't really feel like the small town that it was like 10 years ago when we moved here. And even then people were telling us, this isn't a small town anymore.
Sure.
So that's kind of like what mostly occupies my time. And then, there still is room for some hobbies, whether it's started picking up skateboarding again, believe it or not, which is crazy.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Adult skateboarding, geriatric skateboarding is what I'm calling it right now.
There you go.
Shout out to Driveway Skate Shop, which is our new skateboard park indoor and skate shop here in Georgetown. Thomas was kind of the inspiration and my buddy Blake that like brought it back out of me. I haven't been on a board in like 8 years, and that was the last time I was doing adult skateboarding.
Yeah.
Before that, it was 8 years before that I was riding every day. So doing that, picking up the guitar again here and there, jamming with some buds when I can. And still, I believe it or not, like a lot of cooks no longer cook at home. They're just like over it by the time they come home. But I've come home and have like cooked out like some pretty wild meals before too. So
right, nice.
Yeah,
switching
that part
it up
is
from pizza when you get home, kind of thing.
Pizza is like it's cooking and baking, and when I'm there, I'm usually like the oven guy because it's the most. It's the caboose of the system, right? You're like taking an order, you're making it, and then you're cooking it, and the cooking it can be like a make or break. It's the final sort of stage for like quality check as well, making sure the bake is perfect, not over or underdone. And then you're able to, double check topping ratios and how are certain things melting and whatnot before they're finally cut and served to the customer. So I feel like because we have this kind of conveyor belt system where someone is taking care of each different piece, I don't really burn out on feeling like I'm cooking. I'm like baking kind of the whole night.
Right.
So when I come home, I'm like, oh yeah, let me fry something up or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Switch gears a little bit at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. So what's next for Sadboy? Or eventually, are we looking at franchising maybe, or open up another shop? Or
people come in all the time and they're like, you should franchise. And I'm like, you don't know what it took just to get to store one.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And we only just started being open like 6 days a week. I came from, we talked today, like I have no kitchen experience other than cooking class at the Loblaws when I was a kid. I never worked at a pizza shop before. I'm completely self-taught.
It's incredible.
And I've owned my own little small businesses, but not to this scale.
Right.
I've only ever owned businesses where maybe I pay myself and I might have a couple of contractors that I have to sub stuff out for. But this is the first time where I'm like, there's like 13 people that like rely on this as like their main source of income. It's how they put food on their table too. It's mind-boggling. So sometimes I'm like, it's that fever dream where I look back. I had the staff meeting and I was like, I don't even have enough chairs to seat everybody right now in my store. I was like, we should have rented a hall for this meeting. Oops. But we're still working on expanding hours. We are always running out of fridge space at the store. We had to sadly sell our Jurassic Park pinball machine in order to make room for another fridge.
That's a big sacrifice right there.
Oh, man, we're losing pinball for fridges. I'm like, there's like the little kid version of me that's equally stoked to be like, you get to make pizza every day.
Right.
It's like, you sold the pinball machine? I'm like, we need the fridge, buddy. It's going to be fine. Like, this will be maybe that means more pinballs later, okay? Right. It's just right now we can't do it. Because we've got the total square footage of the shop's 850. The functional part of the shop's like 500. Which is very tight. And at the time when I first started the store, I thought it's going to be me and like 3 other people, maybe 2.
Right.
I thought I was going to be able to run some of the services myself because I was able to do it completely by myself, more or less, at Uncorked. I had my fiance's uncle, for example. He helped me out for a little bit, more so running, because the kitchen at Uncorked is not open. You're like tucked in the back. So if somebody came in to pick up a pizza, I would never be able to see them. So you needed somebody to kind of be the spotter.
Right. Poke the head around the corner for you.
Yeah, exactly. To like welcome customers. So, still working on expanding the operation. We get curious and do like fun things with the menu all the time. There's still a lot of other food categories that I am amped about. Not that I would want to be doing them full time, but because we have a restaurant that we can cook whatever we really want out of it. We were playing around with potato chips the other day, and I was like, ooh, this is like a weird thing to have with pizza, but also it makes sense because we have all these other snacks here. We just put out focaccias and our Sicilians, which is like a thicker crust, and then people are already asking us about Detroit-style pizza, and I'm like, slow down. We're going to get there, but at the same time, maybe we won't. There's stuff that we've done. We cobble together a pizza, and it's like available that day, and customers will come and buy slices of it, and it never sees the light of day. And then they come back and they're like, "Could I get that thing I had?" I was like, "Oh man!" I'm like, "That was just that one day, that one time." But never say never. I think there's still a lot of work to do in town in the 4 walls that I have.
Right. Sure.
When I think about franchising, I think more about partner stores, because as soon as we multiply, more times than not, quality degrades, kind of like corporate core values degrade, which at the end of the day are my values that I've brought to the store. And so that customer experience is a big one. And if it's not the same, like, can every Sadboy Pizza have that many VHS tapes in it? Can every Sadboy Pizza have the pinball thing? Or will this one always have kind of a unique charm and the other ones will be more just about the pizza? But then you lose all the little magic dust that I've added to the whole thing.
Right.
And I did this to get out of corporate. I don't want to go back to now having a pizza office.
Sure. No, it totally makes sense. Yeah.
So, a little backwards, but
yeah. Oh, well, like with your recipes, you're a man of integrity. That's for sure. You don't want to compromise anything there.
No,
that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Why mess with a good thing, right? Like it's. So, any final thoughts at all for the day? Just whether about the shop or not, or anything you'd like to share with anyone who'd be listening.
Oh boy, on the spot.
No pressure.
We're working on getting air conditioning. Whatever value that means for customers. It's hot, a little hot out today, but hoping that this summer it's a little bit more comfortable in there with the ovens running. It's crazy. I'm always available. I know I think probably the one thing is that I want to share with everybody is that if you are thinking about opening up a business, whether it's in town or you're looking to do something out of your own garage or your own home, I have a lot of conversations with customers or friends that are like interested in maybe doing what I did or learning a little bit more of like how they could get into it. I'm an open book. Although the recipes are ironclad, like my steps and process of how I got there, I'm very vocal about. So learning more about how to set up a corporation or how to pay taxes and, how the health board works or who do you go to in town when you want information about this or that. I've got quite the Rolodex of contacts and experience and hiccups along the way that can help like fellow entrepreneurs, I'd say, in town, especially in the food category for sure. I've done other stuff too. Right. But obviously within Georgetown, Halton, quite a bit of food experience now. So happy to always share.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. No, that's huge. In the restaurant industry, it's such a tough one too. Like any advice anyone can get, I'm sure would be
it's tough,
invaluable.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So. You go to the bank and they're like, "Oh, you're like a business. Oh, you want to start a business? Cool." And then you say a restaurant, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know, but
yeah.
But it's
take a couple steps back.
It's doable. You know, we're doing okay. I'm definitely very proud of everything that we've been able to accomplish. And the people that we've been able to touch and help out along the way as well. Because whether or not it's through some of our community programs, you know, being able to see the light on people's faces when they come into the store and they're brought back to a different time from their youth, or there's a kid that's like mesmerized with this is a movie and they're like they can touch it, and then they have this slice of pizza that you know we make to the best standard that we can, you know, and then their mind's like double blown. They're just like wow. You know, I'm very, very grateful. I'm full of a lot of gratitude for it all.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And you should be proud, man. Like it's as I said, awesome shop. I think you're doing an awesome thing, man. Thank you. Yeah, very cool. Congrats on everything. And thanks so much for sitting down with me today, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Devin. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
See ya.